Hello everyone and welcome back to Saringman Academy. In this video, we'll be discussing about operators and expressions in Java. So let's get started. So the first type of operator that we're going to discuss is assignment operator. There are many assignment operators, but we'll be discussing the main assignment operator that we are going to use often, which is equal to. So in equal to sign, we assign the value of a variable using equal to sign, like int x is equal to 5. So I am by adding equal to sign, I am specifying that inside the variable x, I am assigning the value 5. That's why it's known as assignment operator. Now the second type of operator is relational operator. Now relational operators are used to compare or to find relations between two different things. So the common relational operators are equal to, which is used to check equality, then not equal to, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, and less than or equal to. Then comes logical operators. So logical operators is used to check logics between items, like whether they are true or false. So the primary logical operators are and, or, and not. Then comes unary operators. So there are two types of primary unary operators, which are plus plus and minus minus. Now these are plus plus and these two are increment operators. Plus plus is increment and minus minus is decrement operator. Now this means if I create a variable called x and I assign the value 5, and if I write x plus plus, that means I'm using the increment operator, the system will automatically add 1 to x. Now the current value of x is 5, so it will print 6. Similarly, in decrement operator, which is minus minus, if I write x minus minus and print the value of x, it will print 4 because 5 minus 1 is 4. So this automatically adds or decreases value by 1. Now let's go to VS Code to check the practical. So let's create a new file. I'll name it as operators.java. And then I'll write public static void main. Inside parenthesis string argument. Then open curly brackets. Inside it, I'll create a variable x and I'll store the value 5. Then create another variable y and store the value 2. Now there are two methods to perform arithmetic operations. The first method is to create a third variable and then store the value of the arithmetic operation that we are willing to perform. The next method is to directly perform the arithmetic operation by printing the value. Now the primary arithmetic operators in Java are plus, minus, multiplication, division, and modulus. So first of all, we will be learning how to add two things in Java. We can add two or many items in Java. So firstly, we'll look at the first method, which is to create a third variable called sum and then store the value of x plus y. So let me create a new variable, sum. Then I'll store the value of x plus y. Then I'll write the print statement, system.out.println. Then I'll write addition, and then I'll put a plus, and then I'll write sum. Then put a semicolon. Now what does this mean? This means that I am writing a string, that means a text addition, and then I am joining it with the variable. So in order to join two things, we are giving the sign of plus. This is known as concatenation. So it will print addition and then it will print the sum. So if I run the code, as you can see, it will print addition 7. Now let's look at the second method, which is to directly print the addition between those two numbers. So I'll write addition and I'll put plus, and instead of sum, I'll write x plus y. I'll wrap it inside bracket. This is to just ensure better readability. For that purpose, I'm wrapping it inside bracket. you can see it will also print 7. Now similarly, I can create another variable called difference, and then I'll store the difference between x and y. And then I'll copy this line and I'll write subtraction, and then I'll store difference. I'll print it in another line. And then in the similar way, I'll print the second method also. Instead of plus, I'll put minus. And then instead of addition, I'll write subtraction. Now if I run the code, as you can see, it prints addition and subtraction. Now similarly, I'll store the product x into y and the quotient x divided by y, and then in a similar manner I'll store it. So I'm just replacing the values, and I'm not um, writing in a new line of code. I'm just replacing the values with the existing values which I have. If I run, it will perform all the 4 major arithmetic operations. As you can see, every arithmetic operation returns us the exact value, every similar arithmetic operation. That means it's our wish to use any of the two methods, either to create a third variable or to directly print its arithmetic operation. Both will result in the same result. Now the fifth arithmetic operation is modulus. Now what is modulus? Modulus actually divides two numbers, and then it, instead of returning the quotient, it returns the remainder. So it returns a remainder and then gives us the result. So if I create another variable called remainder, and if I write x percentage, so the modulus sign is percentage sign, so I write x modulus y, that means I put the percentage symbol, and then again I'll do it in both the methods. So I'll write, instead of difference, I'll write remainder, and then I'll put remainder. Here also remainder and remainder. So I'll put here percentage sign, which is the sign of modulus. And if I run my code, you can see it prints the remainder as 1. So this is what the meaning of modulus operator is. So modulus operator is nothing but the operation which we perform to get the remainder of a division. Now we have discussed arithmetic operators. Now let's discuss about how to write a comment in Java. Now what are comments? Comments are those line of code that we write which the system ignores. It's completely written for humans to understand the code. Let's suppose here I want to write a comment. I want to indicate the developer or the person who is reading the code that I am performing arithmetic operations. So I'll write here arithmetic operations. So in order to create a comment, I put 2 forward slashes, and then I specify that it's arithmetic operations, and then I can create another comment that it's addition. This is performing subtraction like this, and this one is for multiplication. This one is for division. And this one is for modulus, or I can write slash remainder. So any person can understand what I am trying to write in a simple manner. And if I run the code, the system will not throw any error, not print anything, because I have written a comment, and this comment is completely ignored by the system. As you can see, the system has not printed any error nor given any other text, because it has completely ignored the comment. And this comment is meant for the user who reads my code. Now let's try performing relational operators in Java. So let's try to apply relational operators in Java. So we'll again use the same variables x and y itself. So I'll write a comment saying that these are relational operators, and then again I can do one more thing is that I can create another set of variables like int comparison. So basically, we are going to compare between whether x is greater than y. So I'll write x greater than y, then put semicolon. Instead of int, I'll write boolean because comparison is a boolean operator. So I'll specify here boolean. Now, why are we using boolean? Basically, boolean is a data type that we use to compare two values. So this will result either in true or false. Like I specified in the previous video, that boolean only has two values which are true and false, and we commonly use boolean for comparing two values and for checking conditions. So this is a condition to check whether x is greater than or greater than y. So if it's true, it will return true, else it will return false. So if I write here system.out.println, and then let me just write comparison, then I'll write comparison. The same method, I'll directly print comparison also. So here also we can use those two methods. So here I can directly write x greater than y, and then I can save my code. And if I run it, as you can see, it prints comparison true. So x is greater than y. Yes. 5 is greater than 2. So that's why it's printing true. Now let's learn how to modify the values of a variable. So I have already created the variables x and y. Now if I want to modify the values, here if I want to modify the value of x, I can write x equal to 1. And if I want to modify the value of y, I can write y equal to 3. And now if I again perform the comparison, if I run my code, as you can see, now the comparison turns to be false. But if you notice one thing, in the two methods that we had performed, the first method is showing true and the second method is showing false. Actually, the answer is correct for the second method because x greater than y is false because now 1 is less than 3. But then why the first method is showing true? It's because the first method, which uses the variable comparison, we had specified it at the beginning. If you notice, see, boolean comparison equal to x greater than y, and at that time x was 5 and y was 2. So Java is taking the value which we had initialized earlier. So these values were specified earlier. Now Java does not know that in that below we have modified the values for x and y. It still takes the older values. But if I again specify comparison over here, and if I write below x and y, modified x and y, and if I write comparison is equal to x greater than y, and if I rerun my code, this time it will print false on both sides. As you can see, now it prints false on both sides. Why? Because now this comparison has got updated values. Because it's written beneath the modified x and y, comparison now knows that the current value of x is 1 and the current value of y is 3. So 1 is not greater than 3. That's why it's printing false. So I can write a comment that this is modifying variables, modifying values of variables. So this is how we modify values of variables. And now let's perform the practical of unary operators. So the unary operators are plus plus and minus minus. One is increment, the second one is decrement. Again, we'll take the same example of x and y itself. So if I want to increment the value of x, I can simply write x plus plus, and then if I print the value of x, system dot out dot print line, and if I simply print the value of x, save my code, now it will print 2. Why? Because the current value of x is 1. It's taking the modified value. So the current value of x is 1. So if I write plus plus, it increments. It automatically adds 1 to the current value of x. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Similarly, if I write y plus plus, and if I print the value of y, it will print 4 because current value is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. It will print 4. As you can see, it prints 4. Now I can perform decrement operators also. So I'll perform decrement operations. I'll add x minus minus and y minus minus. Now if I print the values, if I run my code, as you can see now it prints 1 and 3. Now why does it print now 1 and 3? It should be x minus 1 is current value is value of x is 1. So 1 minus 1 should be 0 and 3 minus 1 should be 2. Then why it's printing 1 and 3, the original value? That's because when we had performed the increment operation, the value of the variable is automatically getting updated by the system. So the system automatically updates the current value of the variable. Since at that time when I performed increment operation, the current value of x was updated to 2 and the current value of y was updated to 4. So it has basically overridden these values and it has updated the values of these variables. And when I perform the decrement operation, it takes the current value which has been updated by the system. So I have already performed the increment operation. So now it takes the original value as the operation which we had performed at the time of increment. So since 2 minus 1 is 1 and 4 minus 1 is 3, it prints 1 minus 3 because it takes the updated value. Whereas if I had performed this x minus x, this decrement operations before performing the increment operation, here it will print 0 and um, 2. Now let's check. As you can see, now it prints 0 and 2 over here. Because here I have performed the decrement operation before the increment operation had been performed. Currently, the value of the variables are 1 and 3. So each time when we modify a variable and we need to take the modified value, we need to put our operation that we want to perform below where we have specified the updated value. Otherwise, it would take the original value only. And that's a wrap for this video. If you liked it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like it, and share it with your friends and family. Thanks for watching.